All right. Hello, hello. I'm crossing my fingers real hard that everything is working out right now. I hope you can hear me. I did 3 test runs this morning, making sure that the audio is much better than last time. So if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, anybody, if there's somebody watching right now. That would be really helpful. And I'm going to look over here real quick to see if I can, yes, I can see myself. Alrighty, things have aligned. I don't see any thumbs up, but I'm just gonna guess that things are working out. All right, so if you're here, so glad you are. Welcome to the weekly sketch sessions. As I mentioned last week, and if you didn't catch it, I'm gonna tell it to everybody right now. I'm doing these weekly live streams where I'm gonna cycle through different subject matter every week. And so last week was figure, kind of got taken down halfway through, but I kind of muscled through it. This week it's portraiture. Next week we're going to do some animal drawing, and then after that some landscape or nature drawing, and then I begin with figure again. And so every week the subject changes, but every week also the focus changes. So last week I was focusing on anatomy. So this week I'm going to focus on underlying structure. So what I'm thinking about these sketch sessions as workout sessions. They're not beautiful artwork creation sessions. They're sessions for me to work on certain craft issues, and I invite you to do the same, or you just do whatever the hell you want to do, work from the footage that I'm screening, and have fun, listen to me yap away, or put me on mute and just draw. It's completely up to you, but I hope that, like that we can feed energy to each other and help each other stay in our sketchbooks and keep our chops sharp. So, oh good, I got a thumbs up earlier, so that's good news that I have not been talking to myself without you guys hearing me. So what I'll do is I will flip the camera set up shortly and show you my drawing pad. So I have 3 photos that we can work from, and I'll try and time myself like 20 minutes per image. Some of them are very challenging, and I'll tell you why they're challenging, and others, like I'm starting with one that's fairly easy. But so what I'm going to be addressing is my process. Like if I'm practicing structure, recognizing structure in the human head, instead of just making a pretty drawing, I follow what's called the Loomis deconstruction method. I'm kind of adapting it for my own means, but that's pretty much what I'm basing it on. So some terms might sound familiar to you, but I'll walk you through step by step, and as I said, you can do your own thing as well. So let me switch cameras. Alrighty, so as I said, I'll have about 20 minutes per image. And I'm using Prismacolor Color Erase pencils. They're a little bit light in the beginning, so what you might be seeing is a little bit faint. But as I keep working, it'll build up darker. And so the way you want to think about any kind of drawing, whether it's a portrait or a landscape or whatever it is, you want to think of it in different phases. And the first phase is the phase where you just kind of get the lay of the land. Like you establish the big picture, meaning visual connections, shapes, rhythms. And this is where you establish, if you're drawing a head, if that head is actually upright, or if there's a lean left to right, and also what the 3D orientation is. So this girl here, this is Heather, like she's turning away to the left side. So me putting that center line immediately onto my head shape already gives me an orientation, a 3D orientation. Now, the kind of head shape I like to begin with just in the very beginning, is either kind of like a guitar pick shape or a kind of a egg shape. I don't know if you just heard that crashing sound. That was the kitten. He's trying to jump on my leg as I'm drawing. So these are the two types of shapes I'm beginning with, and I'm basically asking myself, is this egg shape upright or is there slight lean left to right? And that is not to be underestimated. Like drawing this most simple version accurately, totally underrated, huge difference maker. So now let me trim my shape up a little bit. So I felt like I elongated her head a little bit. So I'm gonna make this a little bit shorter. All right, so now I have, this is, to me that would be end of phase one. So phase one is just like super loose gesture where I draw faintly. Now I'm starting to enter phase two. And in phase two, I'm really interested in the 3D structure. So a little bit of side drawing here. The way our heads are constructed, it's kind of like this. You have a ball, and on that ball, you have this kind of curvy face mask. So the ball part is our cranium, the part that is enclosing the brain. And it's not a total ball, it's more like an oblong ball that's kind of, I don't know, eggplant shaped. And then you put that facial mask on there. Now, the other thing about this cranium is that it's not a perfect ball. It's kind of, like think of it as a cookie dough ball where you kind of shave some of the sides off. So that's kind of the side plane that's a little bit flatter. So on your own, like if you feel where your eyebrows are, where the peak of the eyebrow is, that's where you have your temple bone. So that's what I'm looking at with Heather right now. So I'm looking, where is that arc of her eyebrow? And that's where her temple ridge is. And that's where I'm placing that side plane. And so of course this is an artifice, you know, we don't really have like this disc-shaped side plane on our head, but it's useful because it's delivering me a major plane change, right? Where like the forehead becomes the side of the head, and later on where the front of the face becomes the side of the face. So this is a very important 3D structural element that I'm seeking out very early on. Now as I'm doing this, I'm paying attention to the distances. So my initial center line wasn't quite right. I nudged that over, so from here to here is bigger than here to there. Alright, so I got two main elements established. So let me find out the center of this head. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to have her eye line arcing up a little bit or arcing down. Let's try this. Okay, hold on you guys, 1 second. Now if you can see this one, he's trying to chew on the cables. So he should need to go into a timeout. Sorry about that. If the sound goes away, it's because the cat chewed the cables. So I'm trying to find the halfway point of the side plane. Coming back to this cranium idea. So if this is your cranium ball, that side plane should be about 2/3 the height of your cranium ball. So 2/3. And then like these, if you put these little snippets together, they'll give you the remaining third. So that's something that you want to check for. And it's useful because the side plane can help you deliver accurate proportions. Because if you use the bottom of the side plane, that will give you where the nose is growing out of the face. And if you use the top of the side plane, that'll give you the hairline. And then if you find the halfway point, that's usually around where the brows are. So not the eyes, the brows. Okay. So, and it might not seem very satisfying, but when I'm drawing these lines here, I'm making sure that, first of all, that they're not drooping. So let me get a color so this is super clear. I'm thinking about on this head egg, if I drive a straight rod through there, the center axis, these angles here, the brow angle, the eye angle, the nose angle, they should not be slanting at some odd angle. They should be perpendicular as in 90 degrees to this imaginary central axis. So right now that's what I'm checking for. And as well, they should be parallel. So this is something that often gets missed. So my size here needs to be equal as the size here. The size here equal to here. So otherwise, like if you have one drooping this way and the other one kind of being like this, then it'll look like the person had a stroke. So let's take this out for just a sec. So this is all this underlying work that I do. So now that I have these kind of proportions sketched out, I'm going to get into the facial mask. So I'm coming back to that side plane. Halfway back the side plane is where the jaw connects with the cranium. And the jawline has 3 major angles. The back of the jaw, the length of the jaw, and then the front of the chin. And then it goes back up to the other side, length of the jaw, and then here the cheeks are overlapping the rest of the back of the jaw. So if you see it bird's eye view, your jawline is kind of like a horseshoe. And on girls, these angles, they kind of flow more seamlessly into each other. The chins aren't as angular. And on guys, you have that a little bit more angular in general. Not with everybody, but it's a generalization. The ear of Heather has hair over hers, but if you wanted to kind of visualize, the ear sits in that back bottom quarter. Of your side plane, that is. And then one more plane change that's really useful and is so beautiful on her, very easy to see. If you go from the top of the ear to the cheek to the corner of the chin, that's like an imaginary rhythm. It's like a plane change where the front of the face changes to become the side of the face. And on her, you can see it so beautifully because that's where the light and the shadow are separating. All right, so this here is starting to look pretty structured. Now I'm gonna address the other side by means of what's happening in the front of the face. So I'm gonna add on now and find the brow ridge. So the brow ridge can be simplified into this visor-like shape. Now I have to be careful not to get too broad. I might have to readdress the width. And the reason why I love the Color Erase pencils so much is because they have that eraser in the back for these more technical drawings. It's a really good thing to have. Okay, so brow, arcs over, other side, kind of steps back into here. I'm keeping an eye on the time, about 5 minutes left. Maybe I'll give myself just a little bit more on this one. We'll see. So this is this eye socket structure now, right? So it's basically I took the cookie dough ball and I kind of sliced into it like that. Okay, now I'm kind of making myself zoom out at this point, kind of seeing the whole drawing in one glance, kind of listening visually if there's anything that just feels too big or too small. At this point, nothing is really coming back to me, and it might change as I get further into the drawing. Let's connect this. Okay, so now that I have this, let me think this was from the nose. I'm going to start building more the feature structure. So now I have the head structure, but I don't have much of the features yet except the eye socket. So quickly getting sidetracked by the neck here. I want to get that in. Just so it doesn't look like this head is just floating in space. All right, so nose. You can build your nose starting at 2 places where it makes sense. You can begin at the base of the nose and then build up, or you can begin at the root of the nose and build down. I would go with the area that's less confusing to you, where you feel like, oh, I kind of understand what's happening structure-wise, rather than going for the area where you're just like, what the heck is happening here? Set yourself up for success. So this part that I'm drawing right here, the part in between the eyebrows, it's called the glabella. It's like a keystone shaped thing. And then, so this is the front plane of the glabella, and then you want to step down into the eye socket, and that step down here, this line that I'm drawing, that depends how long it is person to person. Some people have very deep eye socket structures, and others not. So the structure isn't just, some generic wireframe. It does already contribute a lot to the likeness of the person that you're drawing. So now I got my front plane of the glabella, I have my side plane of the glabella. I'm seeing like this very small foreshortened sliver on the other side. So now I'm getting down, and I just have to remind myself, stay simple first. I'm gonna go down the length of the nose, just with like straight lines for now. I'll modify that eventually. And so next I'm going to go to the base of the nose. So where the nose grows out of the face, not the tip of the nose, I'm gauging how wide that is in relationship to up here. So if you kind of drop these imaginary straight lines down, how do they relate to the nose? So I'm gonna go with this. And you know, listen, when you draw, it's a guessing game. Like you make your best guess, and then you step back and you assess, and then you adjust your best guess. And if you haven't drawn much, your best guess is going to be fairly off. And if you've drawn a ton and you practice every single day, then your first guess might be dead on. So no shame in having duds as first guesses. You just don't want to stop at the first guess. You want to keep working on it. Okay, so let's come back. I want to keep working on the nose a little more before I get to the mouth structure. I don't like how this is kind of sagging at an angle. I know that her head has like this little bit of a tilt going on, but I want this and this and this to feel parallel, and currently this is just a little bit too high. So for the nose, like I basically build like this very simplified box. And now I want to modify this box, like this wedge-like thing, into more of a nose structure. So we have the ball of the nose, which is more like teardrop shaped actually. So I'm gonna work on that shape. And then the ball of the nose merges with the nasal bone. And not on everybody, but on some people, that nasal bone, I'm just gonna kind of bring that out, even though it's hard to see because she has glasses. The nasal bone gets wider, almost like a diamond shape. So it's something to look out for. If it's there, be sure to capture it. If it's not there, don't worry about it then. So I have kind of this ball of the nose. Now when I get to the wings of the nose, so I begin with just kind of generic oval shapes, and then I'm trying to chisel them into plane change laden structures. That's a strange way of saying that. So I'm looking for where do I think the nose changes from facing down to facing sidewards. And that's the tricky part, like finding those plane changes, that's really where our brains start to go all haywire. Because, and the reason for that is because we're rounded, our bodies are rounded. And if we're using linear means, like if we're not defaulting to shading to make our drawing feel three-dimensional, we need plane changes. And for plane changes, we have to make a call. Like, I'm gonna call that this is where the plane change is, and as soon as you make a call, you risk a failure. But that's all right. I better make a wrong call and have tried than just hide behind like, oh, I'm just gonna put a little bit of smudgy smudge here and not really ever know how to draw something without shading. All right, so got my nose. Looks more like a nose than just a wedge at this point. Now I'm going to get into the mouth area. So for the mouth area, and I'm kind of looking at the time, so I want to keep going. I want to get the main features in on this one. For the mouth area, don't begin by thinking lips. Begin by thinking, these folds, these creases that we have coming off of the nose, like in between the cheeks and the nose here. Think of that whole area kind of going down to the chin. Think of that as a little dome, and that dome is sitting underneath the nose. Not really, but like it's the point is it's curved. Like the most thing, or one of the biggest things that people miss is they pretend when they draw that the lips are just flat, but they stretch over this curved structure. So we basically, let me see if I can do a little dummy here. So if this is your head, if you want to be really extreme, and you have a profile, we have the nose here, see how this is curvy, and then you have the chin there. So that's what I'm trying to talk about. And so just how I was being careful about the brows aligning and the two nostril attachments, or wings of the noses, how that relates to this, making sure that that's parallel. I'm going to be the same, I'm going to bring the same care to aligning the corners of the mouth. So don't even look at what's happening in the middle, just find where's the corner of the mouth, and not like if there's a little droopy area, not that, but just kind of like where does the mouth end, and connect those visually with each other, and look at that angle carefully. In terms of proportions, in general, if you have that distance between nose and chin, I think it's like if you cut it in thirds, the like 1, 2, 3. At the second point should be the bottom of the lower lip, and then the division is somewhere in here, and this is the top of the upper lip. I'm going to find my center line here again. Make sure that stays centered. So I'm always beginning at the center and then I build out, rather than beginning at the left corner of the mouth and then building to the right. That's what the center is so useful for. So the center of the upper lip is called the tubercle, this little pillow-like Cupid's lip thing. And then whatever side of the face is further away of you, that side portion of the lip is going to be shorter than the side portion on the side of the face that's closer to you. Remember, perspective, foreshortening. Alright, and then on the bottom lip, you can think about it as two big pillows. One here, one there. Alright, and now I need to make sure that this, to me it feels a little bit droopy. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it that way, but that's something, if I gave myself the full hour, that's definitely something I'd address. I'd probably bring this up here. And with portraiture, just this 1/18, 16th of an inch, whatever it is, makes a big difference. Because you're dealing in small increments. Okay, so this is where the bottom lip attaches and meets the chin. Let's work on that shape a little bit more. out some of these wiry lines. So I have a lot of underlying lines that help me establish my drawing, but I don't necessarily leave them in. Like as I keep working, I take the stuff out that might end up becoming confusing. Okay, let's get back up to the eye and then I'll get to the second picture. I had 3 lined up, but there's no way I'm gonna get to 3. So we talked about this inside part of the glabella, and so the other part that's really overlooked is what I call the underbrow. It's these 2 planes here and here that take up a huge, not huge, but like a big portion of the eye area. And so if we are unaware of that structure, what will happen is that you'll blow your eyes up into a scale that's ridiculous. And we've all done it, and it's totally natural because we're so connected to people through their eyes. And so it has like this, or eyes have this emotional weight, and they really kind of draw us in, no pun intended. And if we're not aware of that, they will literally grow in size. So as I'm drawing the actual rim of the eye, I've drawn one, and so now I want to make sure that the other eye feels like it belongs to the one I've already drawn, and so I'm kind of carrying over, like the bottom, I carry that over. And paying attention to how many angles do I see on my, I'm losing the tip on my pencil. Let's go over here. For the upper lid, you usually have 3 angles. A fairly short and steep one on the outside, and a flatter one for the top, and a more sloping one again. We have a tear duct in here. And then you want to gauge very carefully how big that whole iris portion is. Just kind of looking at that white of the eye shape, how big is that? And there you go. So now I'm kind of leaning back, zooming out one last time. I'm looking at the forehead shape. Forehead shapes are also really playing a big part in capturing somebody's likeness, especially the hairline. So kind of placing, I sometimes like to think of my eyes as hands reaching for monkey bars. So I'm making one hand look at this part, and then the other hand reach for this part. And I'm kind of looking at those 2 areas simultaneously, trying to find that shape without getting sidetracked by what it is. Alright, so I'm going to leave it at that for this one, so we have a chance to draw another one. But I'm pretty happy with how that deconstruction went. So let me change the pictures here. Alright, let's make her a little bit bigger. Okay, so this one, I asked for submissions on who would let me draw them for the live stream, and literally everybody is wearing glasses. So we have, it's an added challenge. And this one is even trickier. It's not as tricky as some of the other pictures I've gotten, because she's backlit, or like 3/4 backlit, right? So we don't have that beautiful light clarity helping us out, but I think we're up for the challenge. So beginning with just a simple shape. And I recommend that when you're doing this beginning phase that you kind of squint. When you squint, you can't get, your eyes can't get caught on any of the details, any of the lights, any of the expressions. And it allows you to see the shape for what it is. Oops, let's bring this down. All right, so I don't have a ton of elements that I want to throw into the gesture for this one. So what I did, like here, I was looking at the neck muscle, sternocleidomastoid muscle. It goes towards the pit of the neck. That's often something good to include. And now the last thing I'll include in the gesture phase is the center line. And when you place it, the question you want to ask yourself is, do I see slightly more of the left side or slightly more of the right side? Or is it truly equal? And for me, the answer comes back, I see just a little more on the right. It feels like she's tilting her head back a little bit. So it's something I'm just noticing for now. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll come back to that idea of cookie dough ball with a flattened side. And I'm locating this plane change. And remember, that's where the eyebrow is at the high point. So she, I think her name is Betty, I can't remember. She has this little highlight underneath her glasses. So I place the side plane here. And so again, how big? You think about where's that imaginary cranium ball. You're aiming for about 2/3 in height. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm looking for some proportion things. And by things I mean like markers. Let's see, so I'm finding my halfway point of the side plane. From the bottom and the top, making sure these are truly equal. Since I'm using these demarcations as proportion starting points, I want to make sure that I'm actually accurate. So bottom of the side plane gives me the base of the nose. Top of the side plane gives me the hairline. So even though she has bangs coming over her forehead, if I imagine like she kind of brushed her bangs up, where would that hairline be? And then in between, that's the brow line. So again, I want to keep drawing, I want to rush ahead, but painful experience has taught me to pause at this stage and make sure that these are all parallel. And even though there might just be the slightest of droops, gosh, those things show up. So earlier when I was drawing Heather, just that little droop on the wing of the nose, just, you know, it's like this very slight irk. It's like what I imagine like dogs feel like when they hear like a high-pitched sound. Okay, so making sure that this is equal to this is equal to this. Equal thirds. One, no, it's not. Let's make sure this is the bottom. 1, 2, now it's too big, let's make it smaller now. 1, 2, there we go. Okay, got my proportional demarcations. Now I'm kind of reassessing my center line. I'm going to nudge that over. Zooming out visually, taking it all in. Does this feel like Betty? And I'm gonna include the hair at this point, and like not individual strands of hair, but just the outer shape. Like if I connect the outermost points of the hair shape with each other, and I kind of place it on top of my Loomis head, and then I zoom out and I kind of look back and forth. That feels pretty good to me. So I'm gonna let myself keep moving forward. Okay, so let me think, where am I? Okay, so I need, so I had my, the vertical halfway point of the side plane, in that back bottom quarter, that's where the ear is. I know she has hair over it, but just because something is covered, it's the same with figure drawing. Just because something is obstructed, you don't want to just like leave it out. Challenge yourself to think visually. What would it look like if I drew the body part that's being covered up? And then I go from the top of the ear, find that cheekbone ridge, connect that to the chin. And again, that rhythm is our front of the face to side of the face demarcation. And have the same thing happening on the other side. Currently she feels like you might get a little bit of an elongated face. At least the left side is making me feel like it's going to be elongated, but let's just keep moving forward. So I got this front plane, 2 side planes, got my proportional lines, guidelines in. Let's do some more neck work. So if you have just the slightest upward tilt of the chin, you want to look, if you see that underside of the jaw, kind of that part, how to say this, how the chin connects with the neck. There is this shape that, again, it's just like the underbrow. Most people aren't aware of it, so they don't pay any attention to it, and then they wonder, why does my drawing not feel like something's missing or there's not enough there? It's because of that underplane. I'm just going to shade that, hatch that in, just so you understand that hatched area. That's the underside of the jaw. Okay. Let's get into the eye socket. Coming back to my temporal ridge here. And kind of where the rims of her glasses are, that's kind of where that temporal ridge is. And then here it dips back down. And then you look from this corner here to the cheekbone. So your eye socket is kind of like a shelf that your eyeballs are sitting in. It's kind of inset into the head, and it's very protective of those fragile orbs. I'm looking if I left myself enough room here for the temple, and I'm gonna scoot that in more. So again, in order to judge this, in order to gauge this, I kind of find the area on the image where I think, okay, this is where this plane change is, and then I make my eye hop from that area to where I think the ear is, and I kind of gauge, is this jump big enough? And currently I don't think so, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger by nudging this over, and earlier I had the same thing happening here. So these are small changes, and they don't result in just like this very satisfying effect. It's just like, okay, now RoboFace just looks a little bit different RoboFace. There's still no real individual there. All right, let's get into the nose. So this is a challenging nose situation because your glabella, she has a very small glabella, very interesting. It's first of all covered by the glasses, and then she has this kind of upward turned nose. So let's begin at the bottom. I think that is probably the better strategy, building from the bottom up. So first I'm looking for the width here. If I hold a pencil to that wing of the nose on my screen, kind of relating it. So you see my arm reaching here, that's because I'm holding my pencil, kind of making these relationships, looking where the pencil relates up to the brow here. I was thinking I need to figure out how I can draw on the screen to kind of show you guys what I'm looking at. That's going to be the next challenge. Okay, so notice how the way her nose attaches almost downward. So at this point I'm only drawing the underplane. The plane of the nose that's facing the ground. And it's so surprising. It's kind of like this weird diamond shape. I don't think that's called a diamond, but strange. And I need to make sure that this side is bigger than this side. This is the side of the face that's closer to me. Making sure that this is slightly smaller here. Okay, so now let's get into the length of the nose. Getting up here. So her length of the nose goes high up to about here, and then it fans out into the glabella. And we assume, we gotta assume in this case because of the glasses being there. Then we have a side plane, like again, remember we gotta step down into the eye socket. Step down into the eye socket. And then draw that remaining plane right here. And then the underbrow. So by paying close attention to the underbrow, you're taking up all that real estate in the eye socket, kind of preventing googly eyes in your models. Gosh, I should post this on Instagram sometime. I have like a first semester self-portrait, and I swear to God, like, I don't know, a quarter of the whole head is my eye scale. Okay. getting sucked into this detailed shapes. So, you know, that happens a lot. It's satisfying to draw the detailed stuff, and so I had to tell myself, okay, back out and look at the big shapes. Your underbrow on the right side, get that going. All right, let's take this out. I got about 10 more minutes before we call it a night. And by the way, if any questions come up as you're drawing, or if you've always wondered about something in relationship to head drawing, portraiture, anything like that, pop it into the chat. I figured out how to see your questions. Okay, I'm going to abandon the nose. I was going to get into the details, but I haven't even done my dental mount, and I already can sense that I'm in trouble because I don't think I have enough space in here. Oh boy. All right, so let's venture on down. Let me check, because it might have happened that this has grown too low. So you listen to your hunches. Your hunches, your gut usually tells you where the trouble lies. Oh, I see. I'm gonna bring this up here. Hopefully that'll help. When in doubt, make a big alignment. What does that mean? You find the outer point of whatever is in question, and you connect it to another area that you're pretty set on, and you see what kind of angle that to create, like on the reference. And then whenever you got it on the reference, you check if in your drawing it's the same angle. That's a good way of checking. All right, let's move forward, even if it's not perfect. Looking for the dental mound. And the chin. So I got my chin dome. Chin dome is another little rounded pad. So remember what I said earlier. So going from the bottom of the nose to the chin, if you divide that in thirds, and she's smiling with her mouth open, so that I always find that very challenging. So this is great. Get to muscle my way through this. Okay, so let me find equal thirds. 1, 2. Let's see what happens if I go with this. Corner of the mouth, I relate that up to the eyes, or the eye structure. And then one corner of the mouth and the other corner of the mouth, I'm trying to relate them, making sure that that aligns with whatever's happening here. Another way to divide this lower section, nose to chin, is if you go from here to here and cut that in half, that's where the bottom of the lower lip should be. And when I use the thirds should be the chin crease. I think I said that wrong earlier in the top of the lip. When there are teeth involved, stay far away from drawing individual teeth. I'm kind of very slowly working my way around this mouth area, making sure I have the big shapes, the big angles, right? Rather than trying to get the smaller detailed shapes. So I'm sensing myself wanting to get darker and darker and just wanting to control that area into submission. So I'm just gonna take a breather and step away from that and kind of come back up in the top area, see if I can bring that further along. I think then I'll be out of time anyways. But so I'm looking at, just like earlier, looking at the forehead, that shape created by the hair. Super useful for creating a stronger likeness, making it look more like the person that you're drawing. I say this frequently, so if you've heard me say this a lot, you may now roll your eyes. When you're out and about and you meet a friend, let's say, you usually can recognize them from far away, not because you're seeing their features, not because you can see the shape of their eyes, but the reason why you recognize them from far away as a person who is your friend is because you're so good at shape recognition, at silhouette recognition. And so that's why having a good hair shape or forehead shape, or all those kind of abstract shapes that we overlook, they contribute immensely to a good portrait, or a bad one if you don't look at them. Okay, I'm gonna get to the eyes a little bit more, and then I'll have to call it, even though this is not anywhere near finished. All right, so let's see. The eye line is halfway through on the head. So where the tear ducts are, that should be the halfway point. So let me kind of think this through. So here's my bridge of the nose. I step down into it. There's a little gap before I get to the tear duct. I have this upward slant, top slant. Let me see if I have a sharper pencil. And then I have this fold, the lid fold, kind of crease here. And then this arcs up because we're looking up at it. And I'm going to carry this over to the other side. Getting kind of blinded by my studio light, so I'm not seeing very well what's happening on the screen. This here overlaps here. Carry this over. So again, I'm thinking bridge of the nose. I step down into the eye socket, then there's a little distance before the tear duct begins. And again, this goes up. Okay. And then we have, this is the sphere of the eye, which is why we have these creases here. They're sensing the ore that's behind these lids. And then iris is here. Here. Oh, and my innards are screaming, put some shading on, make it look pretty. Alright, gosh, time's running out. Let me futz around a little bit with these nostrils. Get some more detailed shapes in here. And if I have a little bit of time over the weekend, maybe I'll keep drawing on it if I have a moment. And if I do so, I'll post it on the Instagram account, the Kira Studios Instagram. Get the ball of the nose. Just got this lovely ball of the nose. It's like super angular, so cute. And then this comes out. And the wings of the nose, you kind of curl under. Oh boy, that's all droopy. Now I see it. Can you guys see that too? It's like this right side is drooping down, the left side isn't. Let's fix that. Let's bring the left side down, pretend like that's how long it is. And it's barely anything. It's just like the thickness of a pencil line. But it bugs me. All right. Gosh, I don't want to stop. I'm gonna let it go. She says and keeps drawing. All right, let me switch over. Where's my cursor? All right, you guys. I hope this was useful. I hope you got to draw and kind of got all warmed up, and I hope that you have time to keep drawing for the rest of the evening. If you do, take a picture. Tag me. I want to see. So if you're on Instagram, I'm at Kira Studios. And if you want to catch next week's session, they're always on Thursdays, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And next week I'm going to do animals, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be bears, brown bears. I'm super into brown bears. And I think I'll be focusing on shapes, like how to get some really solid shapes. So not 3D structure, but good kind of representative to their species, the shapes. So if you're down for that, join me next week. If you want to get a reminder, get on the email list. You can go to my website, kiraoc.com/3 questions. The 3 questions is for a free workbook that you get when you sign up for my email list. It's 3 questions on how to make your drawings better. It's a really great workbook. I put a lot of effort into it. It's totally worth it. And like that, you'll get the weekly emails and the reminder for joining me online. Alrighty. Hope you liked it as much as I did, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Oh, let me see if there are no questions. Alrighty. I'll see you soon. Bye.